So good day again from Wicklow. I did one of these posts last week, and I think it was last Thursday or Friday, and I was talking about this thing of understanding where you're going in business, the need to understand your destination, the need to understand your route to that destination, and also where you're starting from. That's very important. If you don't know where you're starting from, you're not going to work out the route to that destination very easily. But there's a bit more to it than that, and let me explain by telling a story. So if I go back to 2019, the end of 2019, before this whole COVID thing came along, something triggered in me this thought of how do you get people to communicate well on a project? How do you get good communications on a project? Or how do you get good communications in a business? And I was out hill walking, I think it was a Sunday, and I think it might have been the Sunday before Christmas 2019, and I was out with a buddy of mine, a guy called Mark, and both myself and Mark had been on a number of trekking expeditions in the Alps and a number of ski mountaineering expeditions in the Alps. And out of the blue, he said this thing. We talked about lots of things, just life. We talked about friends, we talked about skiing, we talked about previous expeditions. Out of the blue, he said, "You know, Peter, on that expedition with Alan, the most important thing I learned was that everybody needs to understand where you're going and everybody needs to understand what you're trying to achieve." Now that came from a guy who's not a business guy, he's a techie guy, but I thought it was very succinct and very to the point. And that's very applicable in business. Not only do you need to know where you're going as a business owner, you need to understand where you're going, you need to understand what you're trying to achieve, but you really do need to ensure that your team is on the same wavelength. If your team is going somewhere different than you're going, you're not really going to get there. You might get where you want to go, but they won't be there. They might get where they want to go, but you won't be there. And success means very different things to very different people unless you have that conversation, or more to the point, conversations about where you're going and conversations about what you're trying to achieve. So that's my tip for the day. Understand where you're going, understand what you're trying to achieve, and be very, very careful to ensure that your team are on the same wavelength and understand your destination as well as you do.